Alright, the next video we're going to look at today is the problem with autistic film characters and infantilization and how to do it better. So let's do that. And again, shouldn't be a surprise. We're looking at this because of the fact that I am autistic. I have autism and ADHD. So let's get into this, and I will give my perspective as we go along, as per usual.
Imagine you're an actor for a new big film project. You've been given a character that you're supposed to play that's meant to be autistic. You, however, are not autistic yourself, so you're not quite sure how to go about portraying this. Finally, in exasperation, you go to the director and producer and say, I can't do this character. I just don't know this well enough. Maybe you can get an actual autistic actor for this? To which the director replies, nah, don't bother. I've already written the character for you. Just act like a baby in an adult's body. And that is how many autistic characters in Hollywood are ultimately created, believe it or not. For many years, Hollywood has struggled with creating believable autistic characters when it wants to try and put them in their films to achieve a sense of representation. Generally, when these characters are being written by writers that aren't actually autistic themselves, they fall into one of two camps. Either they are shown as robotic savants who know the answer to any and all questions that are asked of them, or they're just shown as a helpless child who can't do anything for themselves, usually without the help of their heroic neurotypical companions. Whoopee! The latter approach is unfortunately very common in Hollywood, with there being plenty of examples of a character who is just there to be seen as a childlike pet that's meant to be coddled by neurotypical characters in the film to make them look good for putting up with the autistic character. The autistic childlike character might be portrayed as repeating the same words over and over, walk around or move in an unusual manner to show that they're clearly very different from these amazing neurotypical people that are also in this movie, or be nonverbal altogether, being unable to communicate with those around them. While being young at heart can actually be a trait of autism, a lot of these portrayals that Hollywood uses are just harmful stereotypes that lean very far into extreme behaviors that a lot of autistic people don't actually do in person. This ultimately leads to a lot of misinformation being spread. However, there is a way to actually portray autistic characters that might be more childlike well in film, and that's what I want to discuss today. To start, let's explain when exactly this sort of character doesn't work in film. Perhaps the most notorious example of this in a character can be found in none other than Music, which is a film that was released in 2021 by the music artist Sia. The film tells the story of Zoo, a drug dealer who's recently become sober and is caring for her half-sister, Music, as her sole guardian. With the help of Ebo, Zoo's neighbor that she inevitably has a cobbled together relationship by the end of the film, Zoo learns how to care for Music, if you can even call it caring, and Music learns to sing in the film's finale. The end. While the film itself honestly has many issues on its own just from a filmmaking standpoint, with some pretty egregious pacing and incredibly jarring music videos featured at random points within the film, and likely its biggest mistake overall is how it chooses to portray its autistic character. Strangely enough, despite being the namesake of the film, Music is not even the main character, and ultimately she's not really a character at all. Music in the film is portrayed as incredibly childlike, an aloof MacGuffin that really only exists in the film to draw the two neurotypical characters together, who honestly aren't even that interesting themselves. Music is not really a character at all, and has no nuance the way she's written, and she can't even be bothered to be given any sort of discernible personality for an autistic character outside of basically just being seen as a pet containing many stereotypical autism traits. Interestingly enough, a large part of this can be attributed to the fact that Music was actually not played by an autistic actress at all. Rather, Sia, who of course directed the film, chose to give the role to Maddie Ziegler, a young, neurotypical teenager she'd worked with many times in the past on things like the Chandelier music video and was actually very close with. However, the facts still remain that a neurotypical actress was portraying a neurodivergent character. Ziegler herself actually wasn't sure what to do with a role like this and chose to model the way she would play Music after seeing videos of autistic kids having meltdowns she found on YouTube, and also watching watching Leonardo DiCaprio's character in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which, needless to say, are both ill-informed ways to be doing quote-unquote research. On top of this, music is also notorious for featuring both of its neurotypical characters choosing to try and restrain its main autistic character while she's undergoing a meltdown by slamming her to the ground and pinning her, which I don't even need to explain why this is abhorrently wrong and awful. Ultimately, music is a very blatantly infantilized character written by an Australian pop star who really had no idea how to properly write such a character, and acted by an actress who wasn't even autistic herself and was woefully misinformed. On top of this, Sia actually chose to work with Autism Speaks in creating this film, which is a notoriously awful organization that views autism as a disease that must be cured, and also willfully ignored the criticism from actual autistic people who called her out on social media. All in all, not a good look for Sia, and absolutely a very infantilized autistic character. But interestingly enough, even with all the flaws a film like Music clearly shows with how an autistic character could easily just be seen as a child within an adult's body, and not much more than that, there is a way to create an autistic character that is young at heart, but
Yeah, before he moves on to the good representation part of the video, I just want to focus on the bad representation that is going on right now with it when it comes to, again, music as well as like radio and other characters like that, and like, you know, the Good Doctor and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, stop, because again, the main problem that I have is when it comes to these directors and writers and stuff like that, going like, no, we're going to get neurotypical actors playing these characters. Like, okay, why? Again, it frustrates the shit out of me. Why is blackface seen as obscenely offensive, but this is not? Like, a non-autistic actor playing an autistic character is seen as okay. Like, can we please get to a society where, you know, Sia is looked at as just as offensive is as if she asked that actress to portray blackface. Like, why is the internet care more about blackface than it does about autistic face, right? Or anything like that. Like if you write a character that has a disability, get an actor or actress, you know, whatever, that is a part of that community. Like, if I am a director and or writer, and I write and direct a movie where I have a character who's paraplegic, I'm going to hire a paraplegic actor. If I have a character that's deaf, I'm going to hire a deaf actor. If I have a character that is hard of hearing but not fully deaf, I'm going to hire someone who's hard of hearing but not fully deaf. We, as human beings, there is billions of us on the planet. Billions with a capital B. There is tens of billions of us on this planet. You cannot tell me with a straight face that it is that difficult to find actors willing to portray these characters from these communities that you write for. As well as the fact that you give these writers, you give these actors the ability of script edits. Because I'm autistic, I'm ADHD. I can write for the autistic and ADHD community. I cannot write for the paraplegic community. I have no idea what it's like to be paraplegic. I have no idea what it's like to live that life. So, when I hire a paraplegic actor, I would give them full rights to script edits for their character, because of the fact that I would fully admit, and I would have the ego death willing to be like, look, I don't know what it's like. I literally don't. So I want you to go over this script when it comes to your character with a fine-tooth comb, and I want you to make this more realistic. I want you to tell me what is and is not offensive. What did I do that was accidentally offensive? Because I want you to fully understand that everything that I did in the script was accidental. I was trying my best. I researched as much as I could, but I just don't know. I can walk. Let's be honest. Let's fully address the elephant in the room. I can walk. I have working legs. So I don't know what it's like to be paraplegic. So I'm going to need you to go over the script with a fine tooth comb. I'll pay you extra for it if payment is the problem. Before anyone says that, oh, I'm trying to get like free work out of them. No, I'm willing to pay them extra for it. I'm willing to give them extra money for it. I'm willing to, give them time and a half or more so if they want it. Like we can work. I can work with your manager. I can work with your agent, and we can, figure out some way that works both ways when it comes to payment and all of that. And I will give you, I'll put your name in the credits as also script editor or whatever. I'm willing to go the whole, not even 9 yards. I'm willing to go the whole fucking football field with all of this. I just want to make sure that your character is as close to real as possible when it comes to that community. And the fact that other writers and directors in Hollywood are not willing to do that says a massive amount of our society. Because, like, just put your ego aside for 1 second and allow these people to have script edits, right? Like, if you're going, if you have to have a non-autistic person portray an autistic character, then you're seriously telling me that Sia, as well as the production company involved with making the movie, you're telling me that Sia did not have the money to hire, even for a week, an acting coach that was autistic. Not even an acting coach, just an autistic person to come on and give notes for both the script as well as the acting of the autistic character. Like, you're telling me that Sia hated the autistic community so much that she wanted to portray an autistic character, but didn't want to actually interact with an autistic person at all, so she didn't allow an autistic person on set to give notes. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, again, and the fact that Sia and her defenders will say that she's not, hateful in any way. Really, really, she desperately wanted to make a movie about an autistic character, but she didn't want to interact with the dirty autistic people in real life because she didn't want to allow any autistic people on her set to actually tell her no and tell her that this is offensive, that's offensive, let's redo this, let's not do this. Hey, for the actress that's portraying an autistic character, don't do that. That's not how autistic people react. Also, by the way, don't do the restraining technique when it comes to meltdowns, because that is highly offensive and that is not how you're supposed to handle that situation. Let's actually pull out the DSM-5 and we'll go over how you're actually supposed to handle autistic meltdowns. But Sia didn't want to do any of that because that's too much. That's too respectful of the autistic community. What Sia wanted was her infantilization vision to not be interrupted at all by actual reality and actual people with autism. So, God. Like, again, it's the same thing. Look. It's the same thing. Like, look, if I am going to make a movie about the black community, I would have, black community members be a part of it. They wouldn't be the only ones I'd contact. Cause I'm not saying that they're like the kings of the black community, or whatever. But one of the many organizations that I would talk to if I were to make a movie about the black community would be the NAACP. I would contact the NAACP. I would contact actual on the ground members of Black Lives Matter. I would contact stuff like that. Like, I would go to actual organizations and actual communities because the entire point is I just want to respect this community so much, and I want to do this film right. And I don't want to come. And my ultimate goal would be to come off as non-disrespectful to the community I'm portraying as possible. Basically, I would be the exact opposite of Sia in the fact that I would put in the work to do everything that I possibly can to make sure that my movie is as accurate of a portrayal as I possibly can be. And so that's it. It just sucks that people don't go that extra mile. But let's get back into this video and find out how it could have been done better, at least in terms of what Noah the Otter is saying here.
Doesn't come off as infantilized or just a MacGuffin. But before we talk about that exactly, I'm gonna remind you to subscribe if you like this video so far. If you made it this far, you'll probably like all the other videos I do, since I mostly do film related videos overall and specifically analyzing film tropes like this. Also consider joining my Discord, since that's actually where you can suggest topics for me to cover here on YouTube as well. But with that out of the way, let's talk about just how a childlike autistic character can actually be written well. Funny enough, the movie that just so happens to subvert this trope and actually do it well actually came out this year. Enter The Colors Within, the latest film from Naoko Yamada, the director of A Silent Voice, a very popular and widely acclaimed anime film that has a lot of prestige behind it. Yamada herself is a very well-respected director as a whole, especially in regards to A Silent Voice, and her latest film, The Colors Within, in a lot of ways is honestly what music should have been. The Colors Within follows a young woman named Tatsuko who goes to an all-girls school run by nuns. Tatsuko is set apart from the other girls at her school since she views people as colors, interestingly enough, or rather, she views their personalities or the feeling she gets off of them as colors. Tatsuko is also very daydreamy and childlike as a character overall, and will often space out when she sees these colors within the people around her. At one point, she's in a bookstore with another girl named Kimi and a boy named Rui, and she actually sees within them two of the brightest colors she's ever seen, and it also just so happens the three of them have a shared love for making music. Not that kind of music though, thankfully. As a result, she is able to bond with them, and the three of them wind up forming a band together. Tatsuko definitely comes off as a very autistic coded character, with her unique way of viewing the world and the people in it as colors. And also her blatant hyperfixation on music and being in a band. But the big difference here is that, unlike how it was with Sia's music, the way Tatsuko is portrayed doesn't really feel infantilizing at all. Tatsuko may be childlike with her mannerisms, but ultimately she is still shown to be a well-written character with plenty of nuance. And she doesn't just come off as some object for Rui and Kimi only to bond over. If you look at how music, Ebo, and Zoo all interacted, music was very much set apart from Ebo and Zoo and just seen as some object for them to play off of, and a lame way for the film to try and highlight its neurotypical characters only, which it didn't even do a good job at that. In The Colors Within, however, Tatsuko, Rui, and Kimi all feel like real characters. You can tell they're all legit friends who share an incredible passion for making music together. It feels incredibly genuine, and honestly, it's just a really wholesome, pleasant film overall. If you haven't seen this one yet, I highly recommend checking it out, especially while it's still in theaters. It sucks we don't get 2D animation on the big screen anymore hardly, but films like this show why it's great when we do, since it's genuinely a gorgeous film top to bottom. Overall, while this infantilization of autism is clearly a very easy trap that a lot of Hollywood productions fall into when portraying autism, I do think The Colors Within shows you absolutely can have a childlike autistic character who is still actually a character. I really hope more films take cues from The Colors Within in the future because it actually does get it. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video.
Yeah, again, like I said, it just sucks that a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff like that just infantilize the shit out of autistic characters, and there's only like autism is a spectrum, right? Autism is a massive spectrum, right? View autism like the spectrum of light and the spectrum of colors, right? Right. But autism is a giant spectrum, and really when you're autistic, you're just somewhere on it. Um, but you wouldn't know that if you watch movies and movies and TV shows depicting autism, because especially in the West, movies and TV shows depicting autism are either a toddler in a grown man's body, or a savant genius like Sherlock Holmes, right? That's the only two depictions you get, and the two may never touch, right? So that's my main problem. Is we can never actually get outside of The Colors Within, which I haven't seen, but now I'm willing to check it out. Uh, I don't really see too many autistic coded characters, or even blatantly like said to be autistic characters in movies and TV shows again here in the West, that are treated with any sort of respect and portrayed realistically, like an actual autistic person would act. Uh, and they definitely don't follow the DSM-5 when it comes to how to interact and all of that with autistic characters. Again, I get because again, Hollywood actors just don't know, and they don't have respect. They will be like, "Oh, no, I did my research. I talked to Autism Speaks, and they said that my movie was cool." Like, what? You talked to the basically the Nazis of autism? Like, you're talking to the group that wants to eradicate autism from the face of the earth, because that's their entire goal. Their entire end goal of Autism Speaks is that they treat autism like a disease that needs to be cured. They treat autism like it's fucking cancer, and that it needs to be cured forever from the planet. And that if you have an autistic child, if you're a neurotypical and you have an autistic child, Autism Speaks would tell you to basically kill your child. Not physically, of course. They won't say it physically, but what they're going to try to convey is that you should love your child but hate the autism. You should love your child but hate the autism, because to Autism Speaks, again, they treat autism like it's an original sin, that is like some sort of deviant part of your child that needs to be excised from them. There's this cancer that your child has called autism, and we need to cure that. And so, if you are making a movie and or a TV show, and you put that puzzle piece of Autism Speaks in the movie, I'm not watching it. Because no, for the same reason why I wouldn't watch a movie with the seal of approval from PETA, right? You can't come up to me and say, no. We treated the animals well on our set. We got PETA to tell us that it was okay. It's like of all of the vegan and vegetarian organizations you can talk to, of all of them, PETA? You talk to PETA. Why? No, seriously, no. Why? Why though? Like, why did you talk to PETA? And it's sort of that sort of mentality that you have to have when you see the Autism Speaks puzzle piece is, why did you talk to Autism Speak? Of all of the autism organizations out there, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of all of them throughout the world that you could talk to, you talk to them? Why? Why? Because the very fact that you talk to them and the very fact that you're saying that their approval is this good thing says far more about you than I think you possibly realize. But in either case, uh, yeah, that's just in either case, that's just how I feel.